American 2023. Hi.
How is she still operating? Where she Park Boulevard? Focus on me. Now you pretend like you're in high school and you're gonna come quickly like a rabbit.
So,
No, Mama, get in there.
Ash. Alright, so we're gonna create a UJ image, yeah, and we're gonna create like Illustrator, then to demonstrate like composition and stuff. So a UJ image will be contained inside the flag Illustrator, just to demonstrate how the composition thing is. And we're gonna make flag Illustrator an abstract base class. What the fuck? An abstract base class, and yeah, we'll see. Okay, so you must make sure that you can in the settings, like you are able to view the file name extensions. Like, make sure we're gonna go ahead and create our text document, and then we're gonna call it uj image.cpp. Then we're gonna create a main.cpp. Then let me do my bash file as well. So I'm gonna call it build.bat. Yeah. So to change the file extension, the .cpp part, make sure your file extension, that you are able to see the file extension and stuff. Okay, let me open this damn things. So you can use whatever you wanna use. I'm used to code blocks, so I'm gonna use code blocks to edit those files. Open. All right. So gonna create our module. Right. So module, then include our header file. Second include IOStream, and create my module export module uj image module. Let me create like another source file for utility. So I will call it utility.cpp.
We have me holding it together. Heading over to DFS now, make sure you have all the paperwork in. Asparagus. So how Popeye gets all big and strong when he eats his spinach? That's what asparagus is.
My utility, so module. We're gonna have export module. I'm just gonna call it utility module. In here, we're just gonna like have record structure, RGB color, in red, in green, and in blue. Uh, export. And I think that's for now, this is what we have in our utility. We just we just add things while we continue. So I'm gonna import my module here, my utility module here. Okay. Now I'm gonna create my class. So class uj image. Oh, okay. Private, public. All right. Let me export it if I forget. So in a utility, you can also contain, the error code and stuff like that. So for our UJ image, let me check. Let me put using namespace std here. Okay. So for our UJ image, we're gonna have the constructors, the default constructor with parameters, and the copy constructor, and the deconstructor. Make sure you ask questions now. So for UJ image, we have the rows. You see here, I'm using capital letters here. So the rows with capital letters belong to the UJ image. So in rows, you can name it anyhow you want. I'm gonna have my grid today array, RGB color grid. Then we're gonna store the background color. We're gonna have map function to allocate memory, alloc memo, which accept int rows, int calls, and RGB color. I'm just gonna create color. Then we're gonna have the dialog memo. The allocated memory doesn't accept anything, and we're gonna have a function, the clone function. You accept the const UJ image reference. Just say image. And what else? I think that's should be it. Then for our copy const, I mean our constructor with parameters, we're gonna pass the rows, the columns, and the background color. And for what's this? For our copy constructor, we're gonna pass in a UJ image by reference, and we're gonna have a ppm function, which we might delete later on, and we're gonna have our getters. So you have a getter for the rows. So get rows, we have get rows, and we have get calls. Then we have maybe get background color. We might not use it. Get background color. These are our getters, and RGB color. Get color. So get color is for like retrieving a color at a specific point at at a specific location in the grid. So we pass in the location int r and c. This is our getters. Then for our setters, we're gonna have void set rows, then we pass in the rows, void set colors, we pass in colors, then void set background color, which we might never use, and we pass in the color. Then we have a void set color, which sets a color at a specified location. So int R and int C, and we also pass the color which we want to set at this specific location. So this will be just call it color. So yeah, these are our getters and setters. What else do we have? Okay, let's just implement these functions first. We will add the other ones as we go on. Okay. Angelo. Shandesh Shandini Mama Ahi Ahi Angatsugi Shuka Cylinder now. Upwing on a child, Chico Magu.
Sorry, can I ask something?
Yeah.
Does the order of how you write the implementations matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Angatsugi Shuka Cylinder now. Upwing on a child, Chico. Angatsugi Shuka Cylinder now. Upwing on a child. So in the test, on function on function operator overloading, they might ask you to do two. So gotta know them all. Gotta know them all. You gotta know. You gotta, especially that one, yeah, extraction. You gotta know it might come. All right, let's implement. So we're starting with the allocate memory. So I see people doing mistakes. You see here, we're passing rows, columns, and color. And the one that belongs to the class is the one with a capital letter R. You see, people sometimes they say they do this. They say rows, it goes to rows. That doing the other way around. So remember here, you are set. So remember, you have your UJ image. Your UJ image has rows. This is the rows. So you are passing rows which you want to set to those rows of the UJ image. So it means here you taking the rows of the UJ image, then set it to whatever rows that you're passing here to something, not to something like this. If maybe this were the same, it was rows, it was like this. So here to show that this rows belongs to the UJ image, you say this dot rows. You're gonna do it like this. If the rows that you are passing are written the same as the rows from the UJ image. So let's keep that in mind. The rows, we have our calls for the UJ image, then we set it to the calls that we are passing. Then we have our background color, then we set it to the color passed. Then we allocate memory to our grid, which is equals to new RGB color. arrows. Then we look through our array of pointers. Hello, hello. Sí, ya buena. Era. Ya man, ya tú me ya. Marah na leo. Kana laptop tu meron. Nagsulat lagay ni Mara. Extra. Ready Mara. Na per rap kong dari ardi batuat. Erdi laga. Ya, re develop di system, di software, jadi soft. I see. Marantu belum, saya boleh boleh laga marantu kayak aja ya, saya ano ba naman experience ano ba? Ay, actually like kasi kan mo charo so by fix sa lang. Usah. So this is allocate memory. You already know how to do that. Then this is the allocate memory. So yeah, you can set it to null pointer if you want. So here, this is the clone method. So just gonna look through our stuff. C++. So even here, people to make a mistake, you say greet at R and it's C. It's close to image. Then you do this. You say image R and it's C. This won't work unless if you have added like you have done the double indexing um you have overloaded that double indexing operator. That's when you can be able to do that. So since you haven't done that yet, you must say image dot read at R next C. So a lot of you like make that mistake. So like make sure like when you code like keep in note this thing. So yeah, this is the clone method. Like you must ask yourself what are you doing? What's the purpose of this function? So the purpose of this function is to like clone my grid. You're passing an existing image that has a grid, and you want your grid to look exactly the same as the grid from this image. So when you code like you must You must thinking of it to avoid like doing mistakes and stuff. But then yeah, this is the clone method. Then for our this is the default constructor. So for the default constructor, we're just gonna do constructor chaining. So this constructor chaining stuff is the marks, so you must do them. So here we just gonna call our what is this? Our constructor with parameters and passing some default values 500, and the default color, background color. So we just pass in, let's just have 255 255. I don't know what I don't remember. I think 255 is white or something. And yeah. So you guys, like the way you do it, like in class, you must create, like you must have a part maybe in the private, I think it's the private side where you have your constant like static variables. I think they do like uh they say const int default rows. So you must, I think you have to do these things. Then you also have default rows. You have to have the default row, the default columns, then the default background color, RGB color. So I think this thing will be const static. And for that GB color, it has to be const static. I forgot that thing.
Uh,
Yes, I forgot it, but then yeah, you must
yeah,
do the
it's constant static expression.
yeah constant for RGB color is const, constant static something like that. So you guys have to do them. Then here in the default constructor, instead of like having them like this, typing them like this, you use your default. uh, Use them. You just pass them here. So default rows. So you have to do it like this. Not yes.
So is it a must for me to do it like that, or I can just pass the values?
Uh, Let me check. I think these things were marks. They giving you marks to do that. Let me make sure. Uh, and they don't seem to be marks here. So, but if you want to pass them like this, maybe like check if there are no marks for adding them like this. Because I think there was some practical way declaring these constant variables if they had marks. So maybe you should check before we should check, the mark sheet. Does it have marks for creating those constant variables or what? But then they prefer you doing. Do they prefer you clearing those constant variables? Then for the constructor parameters, just gonna allocate memory, allocate memory, and pass in our rows, colors, and color. So make sure these things correspond. You're passing the rows that are passed to this constructor parameters. You see, so maybe you might make a mistake and say rows. Like you must make sure. Okay, rows columns. Okay, then for our what is this? Our our copy constructor, we're gonna allocate memory using the data from this. existing UG image that we're passing. So we're gonna take in the rows from there. So image rows image dot rows and image and background color. Okay, and afterwards we clone we call the clone method and pass in our existing UJ image object to clone all the data from the grid to our UJ image. And for the deconstructor, obviously we just allocate memory. Then to ppm, yeah, we are doing the P3 thing. Let me include. I think in your utility, you can just include all your libraries here, header files. Whatever. What? Let's say header files. No, your libraries and stuff. Your stream. Hashtag include. SS stream. Hashtag include string. Okay. So I think if you included those things in your in a utility module, maybe I think there will be no need for you to include them here again. Let me just test it out if it works. And to ppm, split our string stream ss ss. This is a p3. Yeah, yeah. Fernando.
So far, how many marks have we accumulated?
So far. uh, uh, I think now is not the time to check the marks, but then define structure. No, I think we will just check it while we did enough code, no, but then remember we here we're just trying to code everything, that might come out from the test. We're just trying to include everything and stuff. So I can't tell at the moment how much you accumulated.
Oh, sorry, can I ask?
Yeah.
So, okay, for example, if they say marks for constructor,
Yeah.
are they taking will they mark like, say, you need a UJ image and maybe a flag illustrator? If, say, you don't do the flag illustrator and then you just do the UJ image and then their constructors there, will they mark it or they will want both?
Maybe like the marks for you. Let's say you done a UJ image and not include a constructor. Obviously, you won't like get the full marks. Maybe it will just be -1 or something, whatever the marks are. Then if maybe you don't do like the whole flag illustrator, I think the marks are separate. If the marks for UJ image and marks for flag illustrator cannot. So if it's a flag illustrator, if you don't do the flag illustrator, you just won't get the whole marks for the flag illustrator. Then if you done the UJ image with the constructor, you just get the whole marks and as well as the marks for the constructor. If you don't do the constructor, they will just -2 or -1, somewhere along those lines.
Okay, sure.
And actually, I'm not really sure about this marks thing, especially for you guys. The question paper will change. It's not the same as past papers, can't really tell. So this will be SS read at R, let's see, dot R and space. Just try to be fast. And RGB. Okay, SS end line. Then return ss.str. ss.str. Okay, then for getters, 10 rows. Hey, get background color. This is supposed to be, so the return type must be RGB color. We need rotate and get color. The get background color is supposed to be RGB color. Return background color and get color. Just return the color at the specified location at RHC. Then set rows. Just you might not even use this set rows and stuff, but then you must have them. And calls, set calls, set background column. Then set color. This will be read at R. Let's see. It's equals to and yeah, then this is our UJ image. And let me go to my main.cpp. Just import a UJ image module. Just want to test if everything is fine in my utility module. Okay, just wanna test if there are no errors and stuff. So I think you'll be given the batch file. So don't do it like this. Don't say .cpp. You might get errors. So here what you want to do is that you want to compile this thing in the order which you created them. For example, like you can't declare main first. So if you check in main has a UJ image module and a utility module. So it means before you compile main.cpp, you must compile UJ image module first and utility image module first. And if you go to UJ image, you see you have your utility module. It means before compiling before compiling UJ image, you must compile utility module first. So like they must be in that order. So we have utility terms. We have utility.cpp, utility.cpp followed by UJ image.cpp, and we have main.cpp. Just call this run.txt. Then on image.cpm. Let's just run it and check if yung ginto sama cleaner compiling. Okay, the RCS string does not name a type. Line 21 at UJ image. Let me check. Okay, so it means we must use a namespace std. So let me just include all my libraries. I thought don't have to include them. Okay. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, so far so good. So now, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna create some. I'll just delete these things, and I'll just delete UJ module. So now we have to create a what's that? An illustrator. Let me check this question page. So we must create an illustrator. So first, like we'll do this practicals 3 and go to 4, 5. So that we can cover everything. So practical 3, I think it was composition. So now we're gonna have a flag illustrator. So a flag illustrator class which contains the UJ image lifecycle rules. Let me create the source file first. So what is my flag illustrator dot cpp? Let me open it. New file, open flag illustrator. So the saying flag illustrator class contains UJ image object whose lifecycle it manages. So now we'll demonstrate composition and how lifecycle management works and stuff. The flag illustrator must be capable of illustrating various flags onto the UJ image object. To make that possible, flag illustrator must have a public member function called illustrate flag. Okay, before we read all the stuff, let's just I will move my flag illustrator here. So let's create a module for our flag illustrator, and this will be hashtag include iostream export module. Then we're gonna call it flag illustrator module. And using namespace std. Using namespace std, then create my class flag illustrator. The private, public. Okay, so let's just add the fields. Oh, sorry. Okay, before I do that, let me. So they're saying the flag illustrator must be capable of illustrating various flags. So they're saying our flag illustrator must have like a UJ image, né? So since UJ image is in the UJ image module, so I must import my module here. So I'm gonna import UJ image module. Okay. Then I think you must always import your utility module everywhere. Import if you use it, so gonna have to have it everywhere. So in our flag illustrator, so our flag illustrator must contain a UJ image object. So we're gonna declare our UJ image object. So remember it's a pointer. Then we're just gonna say call it image, yes.
So the flag illustrator is a derived class, right?
It's a base, it's gonna be a base class.
It's a base class.
Yeah.
Alright, so do you also have to like export that class?
Wait, can you be
Like line 11, sir.
line, yeah, I have to export it in my flag
Oh,
illustrator module. Yeah, so I forgot to export. So right now we're demonstrating composition. So it's composition is a class inside of another class. It's a class inside of another class. So right now we're doing composition. Flag illustrator is not a base class yet. It will be a base class once we've done, inheritance and the whatnot. So right now we're just demonstrating composition. So this is composition, a class inside of another class. So UJ image is a UJ image class. It's inside flag illustrator class. So this is composition. So we declare our UJ image. So this one is gonna be a pointer. Then we give it a name, image. Yeah. Composition. So our flag illustrator is gonna have the basic stuff, the constructors. So it's gonna have the default constructor, the constructor with parameters, and then if you want, you can also add what's this? The clone, the copy constructor. I'm not gonna edit just to save time and stuff. So for our again, we have a UJ image here. So remember to create our UJ image, we need the rows, the columns, and the background color. So I'm gonna pass that in my constructor with parameters. In my constructor with parameters, I'm gonna pass in the rows and then in the columns and the background color. So obviously the rows and the columns I don't need to store them here, not necessarily. So I'm just gonna pass it and I'm just gonna pass them and use them to create my UJ image. And if you don't pass them, so you're gonna have like again we already have a default constructor in the UJ image, then we have some default values, those rows and columns and stuff. So yeah. So we have our constructors here, and so the flag illustrator must be capable of illustrating a various flags onto the UJ image object. So to make that possible, flag illustrator must have a public member function called illustrate flag. Okay, so illustrate flag, let me just create it. So we have a function called illustrate flag. Illustrate flag which accepts an enumeration constant specifying the type of flag that must be drawn. If the constant Japan is passed as a parameter, the Japan flag will be drawn. So we have a function called illustrate flag, which will like draw on top of the UJ image, right? So like we specify what we want to draw on the UJ image, like which type of flag we must draw on top of the UJ image. If we want to draw a Japan flag on top of the UJ image, then we just pass it, then the illustrate flag function will draw it on top of the UJ image, right? So in order to see that what have been drawn onto the image flag illustrator must also provide a 2ppm function. So our UJ illustrator must also have its own 2ppm function, yeah? Right? So they're saying which delegates its task to the contained UJ image. So instead of the flag illustrator writing the code for what's this for displaying the UJ image, it is not gonna do that. It will just delegate that task to this UJ image it has. I get a UJ image already has that 2 ppm method. So it will just ask the UJ image to perform that function instead of like performing it itself, something like that. Flag illustrate function must support at least 3 flags: Nigeria, Japan, and Austria. So let's create our. So we're gonna create our what's this? Our enumeration inside of the utility thing. You can call it anything. I'll just call it flag type. Then I'm gonna export it to the utility module. Export. So in our flag type, we have 3 types of flag. We have Japan. Then these things don't do a mistake and put semicolons. So we have Japan, write a comma. Then we have Austria, then comma. Then we have Nigeria, however it's written. Now then we have Nigeria. So you see there's a comma here, but the last one doesn't have a comma. I'm just like pulling out the mistakes that you might do. Like you might add a comma here by mistake, so there shouldn't be a comma here. There shouldn't be a comma there at the last enumeration. Okay, so in our flag illustrator, so our illustrate flag must pass in the flag type. So we're just gonna say flag type and call it flag maybe, and call it anything and call it flag. So we're just gonna pass in that enumeration. Okay, so these are the only function that we're gonna have in our flag illustrator. So let's implement them. Yes.
So can I see the utility file again?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I think I can just delete these things because it's useless to put them here. I think since they're not being used, so can just add them in the other source files. So this is my utility thing. So in my utility, I just insert like everything that I know that I might use in each and every class. I just add them in my utility module, then import my utility module in all the classes. Okay. Okay, let's implement these functions. So just to be, I think you can also add the clone construct this the copy constructor. So just to maximize the max stuff. Oh, leg illustrator. Yeah, so another mistake, you know. So you see this thing, flag illustrator can, I think they call this scope resolution operator. Like this thing is called scope resolution operator. So this thing you must add it before the name of the function. Before the name of the function. Because I seen someone who done a mistake. Instead of putting it here, he put it the thing in front of the return type. This is wrong. It must be in front of the name of the function. Like keep note of that. Like make sure it must be in front of why I'm saying in front. It must be before the name of the function. So like make sure in front of the before the name of the function. Don't put it before the return type. Okay. Yeah, make sure. So for our what's this? Our for our default constructor, we're just gonna call. So here, I think we can just, what do we do here? So we can just create our UJ image. So let me do this. Let me just. These are two ways you can do it. You can just call, the constructor parameters. So flag illustrator and pass in some default values 500, 500. Let me just pass white. Or else, if you don't want to do this, in here you can also like create your UJ image. And remember, UJ image is a pointer, so we have to allocate memory for it. So you can come here instead of doing this. Let me cut it out. You can come here and allocate memory for your UJ image. So UJ image will be the image is equals to new UJ image. So here we're calling in a constructor. So it's either you can just use the default constructor here like this. So automatically, like this is a constructor, automatically it will come to this side, the default constructor. Just come to the default constructor and pass in the default values and allocate memory using those default values. So you can just do this, or you can just do this, use constructor chaining. Okay. So here, since we have the rows, the columns, and the background color, we can just use them to create our to allocate memory for our UJ image. So new UJ image. You see this thing, new UJ image. See this UJ image. This is the constructor. So like from here, like you choose which constructor you want to use. Either you use default constructor like this. Ouch. Like this, or you use the constructor parameters like this. So since we are passing in the parameters, we can just use the constructor parameters for the UJ image to create our new UJ image object. So just gonna pass in the rows, and then background. So yeah, this thing falls under, well, let me say it's part of lifecycle management. So remember, lifecycle management must include the part where we delete this thing, we delete this UJ image. We're gonna get there. So yeah, in our default constructor, we just set this thing. We just allocate memory for our UJ image. Yeah. Like it's contained inside of our flag illustrator. Then in our deconstructor, that's where we delete our UJ image. So delete image. So apparently you don't need to include these things since it's not an array of pointers. The grid is an array of pointers. That's why we add this 5 brackets. if you add them, I think they might cause an error. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I missed something. Aren't we supposed to have a copy constructor for this one?
You not necessary, but you can edit. I'm just like saving time and stuff. So you can edit. So actually let's just edit. Let's just edit actually. Let me add my what's this? Let's just edit our clone constructor. So our clone constructor, we're gonna pass in an existing flag illustrator. We're gonna pass it by reference. Just gonna call it illustrator. Illustrator, however is written, illustrator. So the purpose of a clone, a copy constructor, is to like create a new object using an existing object. So what we're trying to achieve is like this existing object that we have, we want to look exactly the same as that existing object. Like we want to create a new object using that existing object, and we want to clone everything from that existing object to our object, the new object that we are trying to create. Let me just edit here. Remember the order doesn't matter. So in our flag illustrator, what we wanna do. So basically, we can just create our new image, but then just gonna allocate memory for a new image. But then you're gonna like we have to allocate memory for a new image. So but then we're gonna use the UG image in our existing what is this thing? In our existing illustrator. So just gonna come here and say illustrator, then pass in our UJ image. Remember, UJ image has a copy constructor. Let me go to our copy constructor for our UJ image. Let me do this. This is the copy constructor. So a copy constructor for the UJ image accepts an existing UJ image. That's why here we're using that copy constructor. Oh, here. That's why here we're using that copy constructor, which we're gonna pass in an existing UJ image. So remember here we're passing a UJ image from an existing illustrator. Yeah. I remember.
Hi,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
I don't understand the clone part. Yeah, the copy constructor and cloning part. I don't understand it. On the flag illustrator part.
Inside of the flag illustrator part. The clone part and the clone constructor part in under UJ image. Like, do you understand it?
Yes, I do. I do.
So this side, like we're trying to achieve, the same goal. Like the goal is to create a new object using an existing object. Like our illustrator, it has data, is variables. In this case, it only has a UJ image. So now we want to create a new flag illustrator using an existing flag illustrator. Each flag illustrator has a UJ image. So we want to create a new flag illustrator using an existing flag illustrator. So which means the existing flag illustrator, we want the UJ image inside that existing flag illustrator to be exactly the same as the UJ image in the new flag illustrator object that we are trying to create. I'm not sure if I'm explaining too much. But basically, like we want to copy everything from the existing flag illustrator, which is the one that we're passing here. So we want to copy everything from this flag illustrator to our flag illustrator, to our the new flag illustrator that we're trying to create. Like we're trying to copy everything, every data from this existing flag illustrator to the new flag illustrator that we're creating. So that's why here for our UJ image, so for our UJ image, our UJ image, I get it, our flag illustrator, the only data it has, it's a UJ image. So we want that UJ image to be exactly the same as the UJ image from this existing flag illustrator. I can remember here we're passing an existing flag illustrator. So we want our UJ image to be exactly the same as the flag, as the UJ image from the existing flag illustrator. I'm not sure if do you understand the way I'm explaining it?
I understand. Thank you.
Are you sure? Are you sure? All right, so I hope I explained it well, but then yeah, the goal is like to clone, like to copy everything from an existing object to like we wanna like copy the data from an existing object to a new object. So that's like the goal actually. So for our UJ image, so our UJ image has, so I think this one, yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Fenarnido. Can I ask you a question? Fenarnido. Fernando. You can ask your question. Fernando.
I was saying that please use comments on some important stuff, like we have a relationship, delegation, abstract base classes. Just show them by using the comments. Like,
Oh, you're saying I must leave comments. I must do comments.
yes, yes, yes.
All right. So this is composition. So let me just say composition, and here this is life cycle management. Okay, as well as whatever is happening in this subtask. Mm-hmm. 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 Then this is the illustrator flag. We'll do it last. Then in our 2 ppm. So our 2 ppm, they say I got a 2 ppm function. The 2 ppm function like this to display the UJ image. Né? So since in our flag illustrator we have a UJ image object. So instead of the flag illustrator writing out the code for displaying a ppm image, it is just gonna delegate that functionality to the existing UJ image. So here basically we wanna do this, né? Basically here in our 2 ppm we wanna do this, but then since we're kind of like lazy to do that, we already have, so since we already have a UJ image object in our in our class, so we're not gonna do this. Nah. We're just gonna delegate this functionality to that UJ image. So just gonna call our UJ image, and delegate the task to our UJ image class. So this is delegation. Delegation. So it's like it's like yeah. I think you get it. It's like if you don't want to do something yourself, so you give that task to someone. You appoint someone to do that task for you instead of doing it yourself. So that's basically what's happening. That's basically what delegation means in things. So yeah, this is our 2 ppm function. This is delegation. And in any question, do you like understand how delegation works, what it is, what it means? Okay. Yeah.
Please, explain the delegation again, and then indicate. I don't know if profile can show how many marks you have. And please try to show that.
So our flag illustrator has a 2 ppm function. So our 2 ppm function must display a ppm image. So like it must do that functionality of displaying a ppm image. But then it's like a Flake Illustrator. I'm just making an example. Flake Illustrator is too lazy to do that functionality itself. So what it does, it gives this task of displaying an image. It delegates it to a UJ image class so that it can handle that functionality. Like instead of doing the functionality itself, it gives that functionality, that task to the UJ image class to handle that functionality instead of doing it itself. So that's basically what is happening with the delegation. So this is how we do a 2 ppm. This is how we display a ppm image. So instead of doing this, instead of doing it ourselves, we are too lazy to do that. And we have someone who is capable of doing that. So we hand over the task to that person to handle that functionality instead of us doing that functionality. So like that's basically what delegation means. I don't know if I've explained it in a way which will make sense and a way which you will understand it. But then that's basically what delegation means. It's like handing over a task which you were supposed to do, like handing the task to someone else to do it, instead of you doing it yourself. It's like let's say I'm a head boy of the prefects. Prefects are leaders. So let's say I'm a head boy. So as a head boy, maybe like I have a specific task, maybe to monitor the study. Instead of me as the head boy monitoring the study, instead of me like monitoring the study by myself, no. So what I do is that I tell like a junior prefect, I instruct him, no man, go invigilate the study room. Like instead of me monitoring the study myself, I just delegate that task to that junior prefect. So like this is like what delegation means. Instead of doing the task yourself, you hand over that task, you delegate that task to someone else. So that's basically what it means. So since we have an image, a UJ image, which already which is capable of doing that task, instead of us doing that task ourselves, we delegate that task to the UJ image. Do you now understand it? I think I've explained it in deep depth. So do you understand it now? Just raise your hand, just to show us you understand it or you don't. And
Understand?
Yeah. That's delegation. Oh, so right now let's move on to illustrate flag. Uh, this is a function. So illustrate flag. So illustrate flag draws flags on top of the UJ image. Né? So like we must give it the flag to draw, then it will draw the flag. And that's like the functionality of illustrate flag, basically. So illustrate flag supports three flags: Nigeria, Japan, and Austria. I don't know if must we like start over. So let's just do it. So the way I implemented this, I agree we have to draw these flags on top of the UJ image. So the way I did it. So since you see in our let's go ahead. Let's check Nigeria. So in Nigerian flag, we have a rectangle, a green rectangle, followed by a white rectangle, followed by a green rectangle. So I made function to draw rectangles, né? To draw a green rectangle and draw a white rectangle and draw a green rectangle, like to draw this flag. I don't know how other people do it, but then this is how I went about it, to solving this problem. And for the Japan flag, what I did, I just drew drew a red. I just drew a red circle and just put it in a background a white background color, and that's how I did the Japan flag, same as the Austria. So now we need functions to draw. Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
So for like the Nigerian flag, ne, will
Mhm.
it be fine if I like take ne, the background color and make it green and then draw one white rectangle in the middle?
Yeah, that's actually smarter. Yeah. So basically, you can do it anyways. That's the smarter way to do it. Huh. Yeah, you can do that. I think even this one, the Austria, you can just make a red background color,
Oh, okay,
then
yeah.
draw this thing in the middle, this rectangle in the middle.
I'll
So
go back.
So, so you guys, I think like you must make sure that you know the function for drawing rectangles for and drawing the circles. So in case like they might come out, they might come out. So you must know them. So to draw our what's this? This will just be private function. So to draw a circle, and then we're gonna have a draw circle function, and we're gonna have a function to what is that? Is in range. uh, a function to calculate what's this way, the distance. Yeah, you need a function to calculate the distance. Yeah? So I remember that time in first semester I explained how this drawing of cycle work. Like I remember drawing the stuff, the square roots and whatever. I hope you still remember how. And I don't remember it, so don't mind me. Let me copy the function to draw a circle and the function to calculate the distance and the function to draw a quadrilateral and the function to check if uh, let me just copy the functions. I don't remember how to do them. Maybe I do. I'm just lazy. That was practical for uh, practical 3. So yeah, we have draw cycle and we have the distance the function to calculate the distance and the is in range function and the draw quad. Let me just copy them and paste them here. So I think I posted a video on YouTube where if you don't want to cram how you draw a circle, like you have to go and watch that video and understand in depth what's happening. Why are we passing CR, CC, radius? Like if you want to understand it in deep depth, so you have to go and watch that video. Maybe I'll pass the link in the group. Because I forgot. I think I'm too lazy to re-explain this thing. It's a lot. Not that I forgot. It will take time. So draw illustrator, draw and the distance. Okay, so draw circle. Forgot. Let me copy the thing. Draw circle, draw circle, draw circle. What is it? Draw circle. So this is how we draw a circle. Gosh, let me change these things. This will be image at rows. Image. This will be image set color. Oh, we're using the function to set color, but we're never gonna use it. Color. This is the draw circle method. It works in hand with the distance method. So let me go copy the distance method. This one is easy. If you listen to that video, you understand how, why, when, what. So since we're using square root method, I must include a CMath library. Don't worry about this. Then for our is in range function, so copy out. This is our is in range function. Then our draw quad function. This is our draw a quad function. Let me change these things. Let me do this. And here, let me just do this. All right, and yeah, that's our functions. Draw quad is in range, distance, and draw circle. So those functions we're gonna use them in our illustrate flag, function. So remember here we're passing in a flag, right? So we're gonna check. We're gonna look through the flag. I don't know if I should say look through. So we're gonna check if the flag is Japan. And if it's Japan, we draw a Japan flag. And we're gonna check if the flag is say it's Austria, and we draw an Austrian flag. Then we're gonna check if the flag is a Nigerian flag. We draw Nigerian flag. So yeah, so draw the Japan flag. The easy way is to just make the background color white and draw a red, what's this? A red circle. I mean a session. I mean a session. Yeah, about color. Yeah, we chill. You can ask.
Oh, what the thing is, the screen was kind of frozen, so
So
but
now
now
it's
it's it's fine.
okay. So for the Japan flag, to, just to rob it, you just put a white background color and afterwards draw a red circle. So let me just save time. So yeah, Japan, we said we give it like a white background color. So we set everything to white. Man, ish, must change those things too. Mm, This thing is not image and get colors, and this one should be image set color. Yeah, so just place a just give a background, just paint the UJ image white, everything just paint it white. Then afterwards, in the middle, you draw a white, you draw a red circle. So here's my radius and my center. I think this is my center coordinates, my center row and my center column are 250 to 250. So maybe you want to change this coordinates. Maybe I think the circle won't look nice if it's a 500 by 500 grid. So maybe we should do something like we divide the rows by 2 and they divide the columns by 2. Just to put the circle in the middle, stuff like that. So yeah, this is how we do a Japan flag. Then for the Austria flag, so now as I said, I'm just gonna draw a red. I'm just gonna draw a red rectangle, a white rectangle, followed by a red rectangle. That's it. That's how I achieved that. Then for the Nigerian flag, same thing. Red, a white. What's this? A green rectangle followed by a white, followed by a green again. So yeah, this is basically how we draw the flags. Then yeah, so this is our flag illustrate function. So let's just test it out in the main class. So here, just gonna import my flag illustrate module. Import flag illustrator module and declare my flag illustrator module. So let me just call it an illustrator. I'm just gonna pass in my variables 500 to 500. The background color, let me just give it white or blue and green, I mean. Then see out illustrator dot to ppm. Let's just check if it works. So remember, I haven't compiled. I think I didn't. I have to add flag illustrator to my what's this to my batch file. So I'm gonna repeat this again. So when you're compiling, don't do this. Think this thing like causes an error. That error you see modules. Let's test it out. Maybe it will show that error. Let's test it out. It might not. It might. Eesh, there are a lot of errors here. And I was thinking about this error. So if you include that thing, most yeah, you see. So let's correct that. So here, like you have to make sure that you 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 write these things in the order you created them in the like you must write them in the correct order. So if you go to main, so let's check main. In our main, we see that um by the time we compile main must already know a utility module and must have already know a flag. The compiler must already know the utility module and must have already know the flag illustrator. So which means before we compile the CPP, we must make sure that we compile the utility module and the flag illustrator first. And if you go to our flag illustrator, in our Flag Illustrator, we already have a UJ image module and a utility module. So it means before we we compile Flag Illustrator, we must compile UJ image first and utility module first, as well as the UJ image. UJ image, we're importing a utility module. So before it means before we compile a UJ image, we must compile the UJ the utility module first. So they must like be in that order. Yeah, so here we have a utility module. So we're gonna compile it first, followed by an uj image.cpp, then followed by the flag illustrator. So they must like be in that order. And lastly, we compile the main.cpp. So let's compile and check the errors and fix them. Hey, there are a lot of errors. So this is in under the flag illustrator line 33. So we must check this thing, line 33, flag illustrator. This is the on under the you see we're missing a comma here. So line 33 under flag illustrator. You must check these things. So line 33 under flag illustrator. Line 33. So here we forgot to add a comma here. Okay. And nextly, this is still line 33. Okay. Then line 26, still under flag illustrator. We're saying this is the warning. Those the ones in blue, the warnings. I'm just gonna pass them. And here they're saying what illustrator, blah 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 blah. So they're saying UJ image illustrator dot image. So this thing. So remember we have to pass a UJ image. This is the again here we're trying to use the copy constructor of the UJ image, and the copy constructor of UJ image accepts a UJ image by reference. So here we have to add an asterisk. So that's line number 40. So here we must pass the UJ image by reference. So to pass it by reference, we must add an asterisk here. I think yeah, we have to add an asterisk before saying. Let's check other errors. This is just a warning. Let's compile and check if everything is in order. Okay, everything is correct. So let's just take our image. I think at the moment I haven't drawn any flag, I haven't done anything yet. It must be just be a red background, a green background, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So now in my main, if I want to draw a flag, I must just call the illustrate flag. Yeah, yeah. Which per
The max, the max, the max. How far? How far?
so at the moment we have secured the marks for composition, life cycle management. Then I don't know how much those marks cost. Should I say cost? I don't know how much those marks how they allocate them. I don't know how many marks go for composition. Let me check here. And yeah, so we did constructors, blah blah blah, information hiding. So you have to add comments. The thing is they will be different because you are not using header files and the CPP files. So here let me check. So I would say we have this 20 marks and we also have this 20 marks for composition and delegation. So we have 40 marks so far. Algorithm, delegation, lifecycle management. We haven't done this thing. So it's gonna be 35. Oh, and this is composition, so it's 40. Okay. Created contain class. So far we have done these two. We have done class basics and composition and delegation, right? So 40 marks so far. Let me check. Obviously you do the UML, so you obviously will get this 10 marks. So far it's 50 marks. Or if we are counting the UML diagram, let's just act as if we done the UML diagram because we will obviously do it. So yeah, 50 marks so far just for the composition stuff and the class basics, including comments. So here, instead of it saying use of h and CPP, it will say modules. So then in here we haven't reached this part. So 50 marks so far. Buchilo.
It was. I think it was from that moment when I raised it, so I didn't stop it.
Oh, so
Yeah.
do we need to let's just test one flag and move on to other things. So illustrate flag, let's just test out the Nigerian flag. Our paragraphs there. Don't find yourself being left in Nigeria drinking a bottle of Sprite. Let's just see the flag here. So yeah, it works. So everything is fine. There's no need for us to demonstrate the other flags. So let's just continue to the other thing. So I said 50 marks so far for for class basics and the delegation and composition part and the UML diagram part. So if we're not counting the UML diagram, we have 40. And obviously we do the UML side. So now let's head over to inheritance. Let's head over to inheritance and what's this thing? Function. What's this thing, man? Function redefinition. Yeah, stuff like this. So this is practical for this practical, you must build upon your implementation for part 3 to realize inheritance hierarchy. So now we're doing inheritance hierarchy. Yeah, you see they have marks. So now we're at this point. We're fighting for this 20 marks now. So inheritance hierarchy. So a flag illustrator is a base class containing a UJ image object whose lifecycle it manages. Okay. So the flag illustrator has a generate image member function which must be redefined by derived classes. Okay. By default, the generate image function simply returns a P3 ppm image. So before I forget, let me just create this generate image. So generate image class inside the Flag Illustrator just displays a 2 ppm image. So I'm just gonna edit here. So it returns a string. So generate image doesn't accept anything. So it means now in our Flag Illustrator we no longer have a 2 ppm function. So I'm just gonna remove it. Then instead of 2 ppm, I'm just gonna place generate generate image. So there's it. So I'm just gonna change the name because just the same thing. So generate image just displays the image. So it just delegates. It will just delegate, the displaying of the image to our UJ image. So we've gone through that. So by default, the generate image function simply returns a P3 ppm image. So we've done that. So this means Flag Illustrator no longer has a 2 ppm member function. Okay, we remove that. Okay, virtual. Let me add virtual somewhere. No. So a BW Illustrator is a Flag Illustrator, and it redefines the generate image function to generate a P1 PBM image, black and white. This is done by setting color pixels to 1 and white pixels to 0. So now we have to have a child class called BW Illustrator. So let me create a file here. So BW Illustrator.cpp. Let me open it. BW Illustrator. Then I'll just put it inside my batch file before I forgot it. So it will go after Flag Illustrator. I'm sure you know why it will be after Flag Illustrator. So let's just create a module for our BW Illustrator. Include IOStream. Oh, sorry. Let's check include. Don't forget something. Export module. We will call this module BW module. BW module. Okay. Then using namespace std. Then let's create our class BW Illustrator. We have the private side, and we have the public side. And let me not forget to export. So they're saying BW Illustrator is a Flag Illustrator. It means it inherits from Flag Illustrator, and it redefines the generate image function to generate a P1 PBM image. Né? So we're gonna inherit from our BW Illustrator is gonna inherit it's gonna inherit Flag Illustrator. So this will be public. Now I have a tendency of forgetting to say public and just write Flag Illustrator. I hope you guys also don't do that mistake. So we're gonna say public Flag Illustrator. So now our Flag Illustrator is a base class. I agree. A class. Now we have a child class. So now our Flag Illustrator is a base class, and our BW Illustrator is a child class. Ne? So this is inheritance. This is inheritance. So we are given that our our BW Illustrator redefines this method, the generate image method. I'm just gonna edit there. redefines this method. I think I have forgotten something. So here you have to make this a virtual function. Yeah? So we're gonna declare this thing as a virtual function. Then inside BW Illustrator, I think we're gonna write override here. If I'm not mistaken. So we're gonna write override because we're gonna redefine this generate image. So for constructors for BW Illustrator, we're just gonna have a default constructor, a constructor with parameters, the copy constructor. I won't do the copy constructor. I think I've given you how, if you were to do it, how you do it. Let me just read it. This will be the copy constructor. So this will be the default constructor. And for the constructor with parameters, we're just gonna pass in the rows, the columns, and the background color. So remember, our BW Illustrator is a flag illustrator, so it means it has everything a flag illustrator has. So it has the UJ image, these functions, and these functions. So yeah, BW Illustrator is a flag illustrator. Just that depending on how you declare these things, like if you're a flag illustrator, if you declared your variables as private, it means in your child class you won't be able to directly access them. So to be able to access them, you have to create means, like maybe creating setters and getters and stuff like that. So yeah, our BW illustrator is a flag illustrator. It has the UJ image, it has those functions that the flag illustrator has. Just that if those things are private in the flag illustrator, the BW illustrator can't directly access them. Okay. So this will be the, so I'm gonna say something now. So make sure, so the constructors in your child class, it's a must that your constructors calls one of the constructors from the base class. So BW Illustrator is a child class name. So each constructors name must call the constructors from the base class. Like this one, like write this thing down, somewhere. Write this point down, like it's very, 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 very important. You writing it down, make sure. So in our child class, our constructors in our child class must make sure to call one of the constructors from the base class. Make sure. I repeat, constructors in the child class must call the constructors in the base class. If that again no way. So now we go to our what is this? Copy constructor. So copy constructor, so just accept BW and existing BW Illustrator. BW Illustrator. Just gonna call it BW. Then our this thing obviously doesn't do anything. Okay. Then I think you don't even need to include this deconstructor. Just gonna cancel it out. So automatically when our child class ends or something like that, it will automatically invoke the deconstructor. So it will invoke the deconstructor from the base class, whatever, something like that. So yeah, so this is the only things we have for BW Illustrator. So let's just implement these functions. Any question?
So I wanna ask, like in line 14,
Uh,
is that like a copy which constructor is that one?
this is the copy constructor for
So
BW Illustrator.
so why are we passing this one? Like why not passing it by a reference instead of
Ooh.
using like a point?
Oh yeah, I didn't see that. So yeah,
Oh,
we must pass it by reference.
okay.
Terms. Thank you. So here we don't need to include this override. We can just say only need to include that override. And this function, I think if you want, you can make it a constant. If you declare is a constant this side, if you do this, make it a constant, make sure the other side you do this a constant. But then I won't do that. So for our default constructor, so remember I said our constructors must call one of the constructors from the base class. So here in our BW Illustrator, remember BW Illustrator is an illustrator, so it has a UJ image. Né? So we must allocate memory for that UJ image. But then how are we gonna allocate memory for that UJ image if we can't access it? Because we can't do this. Né? Can't say image. Oh, I forgot to add the scope resolution. What? Forgot to do this. What? Yeah. So we want I get a BW Illustrator is an illustrator. It has a UJ image. Remember, it's a class instead of another class. So this thing must allocate memory for that UJ image. But then how are we gonna allocate memory if you can't access the UJ image? Because we can't do this. We can't say UJ image is equals to new. Can't say image is equals to new UJ image image. Because remember, image it's there as private in the flag illustrator. So we can't do this. So how do we do it? So we call our constructors from one of the constructors in our base class. And I get already these constructors handle that memory allocation. So we're just gonna call them, and they will automatically handle those allocation of memory and whatnot. So here, what we can do, we can just call in our, we can just call our default constructor from our flag illustrator. We can just pass in some, so we can just leave it like this. Leaving like that, leaving it like this, I think we are calling in the default constructor. I should never done it or test it out, but then leaving it like this, it means we're calling in the default constructor. So to come this side to the default constructor and passing default values, like to call the constructor with parameters and passing the default values, and you go to the constructor with parameters. With it, the constructor with parameters, is this one, and allocate memory. This is what happens now. So yeah. So here we just call in the default constructor. And the default constructor will handle, whatever that needs to be handled. Because remember, it's not won't be the same. It will be different cases, and yeah. But the point is, we must call one of the constructors in our base class So that you have to call the correct one and stuff like that. And for our our constructor with parameters. For our constructor with parameters, we're just gonna call the constructor with parameters from our base class. So flag illustrator. You see here we're passing in the rows, columns. So these rows and columns will pass them here. To invoke our flag illustrator constructor with parameters. Okay. Now, so this thing, when we call it, it will go to the flag illustrator constructor with parameters and allocate memory or do whatever it's supposed to do. So yeah. Then for our clone, this one I think is gonna be difficult. For our copy constructor. So even this side, I think what we have to do is that can just, I'm not sure this one. I think we can just call in. Actually, let's be smart and let's call our copy constructor, our flag illustrators copy constructor, and pass in. It means we must pass in a flag illustrator, but then BW illustrator is a flag illustrator, so we're just gonna pass in the BW here. So since we must pass it by reference, we're gonna add this star here. I'm not sure about this thing, but this is how I think it must be done. So we must. So here, basically what we're doing is that we're calling the copy constructor of our flag illustrator and pass in an existing flag illustrator. Remember, BW is a flag illustrator. So this should be right. I'm not sure. If it's not, we'll cancel it out. So yeah, now let's head over to our generate image. So our generate image. So now our BW illustrator, instead of displaying a PPM image, we have to display a PBM. So a PBM is a P1. Keep this in mind. This thing in mind. It's a P1. Nah? So to display a P1, let me just include. Eh, eh, let me include my SS stream and my string libraries. So here we're displaying a PBM, which is a P1 image. So you must know it by heart, because there's a high possibility that it's gonna ask you in the test, like I should, let me just say, I prophesy. Let me just say, yeah, just make sure you know it. It's actually quite easy. So the difference between a PBM and a PPM. PBM is a P1 name. So here what we're gonna do is gonna create our stream name SS. So here SS uh what is going on? So this one will say P1. So a P1 will we have to pass in the magic number. This is the magic number. Yeah. So in a PBM, a P1, in displaying a PBM or doing a P1, we only we only we only we only we only we only, I don't know how to put it, but then we only include the magic number, the magic number and the dimensions only. Basically we say P1 and line and the dimensions. So this must be rows and I'm just making examples, and this must be columns. No. Start with row. We start with the columns. Columns. Then a space. Then the rows and line. So yeah, with the P1, we only include the magic number and the dimensions. We don't include the maximum intensity, which is 255. We only, for P1, we only display the P1, the magic number and the dimensions. So remember, remember in our flag illustrator, if we go to our flag illustrator, we don't have columns, we don't have rows. So it means I can't do this. So columns and rows are inside the UJ image, né? And I'm not able to in the BW illustrator. I can't come here and say image dot get rows. I can't do this because UJ image it's private, né? It's private. It's that private in the base class. So if I want to access, or if I want to be able to access the rows and the columns, in my flag illustrator, I must make getters, So I'm gonna create getters in my base class so that I can use them in the child class, So since I can't directly access UJ image, I'm gonna make like functions which gonna help me access that UJ image indirectly, because since I can't directly access it. So since at the moment I'm only looking for the rows in the columns. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create a getter here. So I'm gonna create a getter. I'm gonna call it get rows in the flag class, in the base class, and I'm gonna create another getter and call it get columns. Yeah. Then I'm gonna implement it. So you see, you can see it's public. I think you can also make it protracted, whatever. Stems. Okay, let me do this. So now since I'm in my base class, in here I can directly access my UJ image. So I'm just gonna say return image dot get rows. Yeah. So remember my UJ image I've created these getters in my UJ image. They get rows, they get columns. You remember. They get rows, they get columns. I created them here. Get rows, get columns and stuff. So since UJ image is inside our flag illustrator, I can access them directly. So return here. I'm also gonna return image not get columns. Okay. So since now in my flag illustrator, I have this get rows and get columns, and they're public. So I can come this side in my BW illustrator and call those functions. I'm gonna call get rows, get calls. Let me check how I declare that. It's gonna be, let me check something public. This is gonna be get calls. I'm not sure why it's not appearing there. Then here we're gonna have get rows. Now this is how we're gonna access those things. Yeah, then so is there any question? This is where is there any question on this get rows things? So this is how I indirectly access the things that are private in the base class. Like I make extra functions that will help me to access, those things that are not that are not directly accessible. So I just make functions to help me be able to access those particular things that are not directly accessible. Né? So in any question about that, get rows, get calls, get something. Osh, I see. I saw that something is not right here. So I didn't import. I forgot to import my flag illustrator. I was wondering why it was not auto completing. So here, let me import my flag illustrator module. Wondering why it's not auto completing. Get cops is in our it's there. I don't know. No. Get rows. So yeah, don't forget to import for it. Okay, so yeah, this is how we do a P1. So now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna loop through our grid. So int r is also 0 and r is less than get rows. If you want, you can just like can store them. You can just say int rows also get rows. If you wanna do it like that, you can do that. And int calls it's also get calls. Let's just do it like this. So here I'll just say calls as to avoid me calling the functions. It's gonna be rows and r plus plus for int r is equal to 0, int c is equal to 0, c is less than calls and c plus plus. Okay, so here, so yeah, remember this is not P3. So with P1, yeah, what happens is that we're gonna calculate an average. So like we're gonna store, let me do this, we're gonna store the pixel at each location. Yeah. So pixel, we're gonna go to each pixel and each color. So we're gonna, let me store it here. So RGB color. So I'm not able to, I'm not able to access the color. Not able to say image.getColor. I'm not able to do this because I can't directly access UJ image. So what I do is that I'll come to my flag illustrator and make a function, call it get color, which is gonna pass in the row and the column. Né? Then yeah. So since I have my UJ image, since my UJ image has the getter for the color, so I'm just gonna use it. So image dot get color, you accept an R and C. So yeah, I'm just gonna use this get color in my BW Illustrator since well I can't directly access the UJ image. So so what a P1 does, so like we get a color at each location. So here I'm just gonna say get color. And let me check something. RGB flag illustrator, get color, save, also get, you just copy and paste it, get color. So we're using RGB color. So if we're using RGB color, we have to include our utility module. Né? So it means in my flag illustrator, I must import my utility module. So import, if you see none of you guys won't be using blocks. So I'm gonna import my utility module because RGB color it's inside is inside utility module. So that's why I think that's why this thing is not showing me it. So get color, yeah. Then we're gonna pass in the R and the C. So we're gonna get each color. Né? After getting each color, we're gonna calculate the what's this thing? We're gonna calculate the average. Again, we have the red component, the green component, and the blue component. So we're gonna calculate the average for this component. So what I mean is that we're gonna add all the color components in here. So color dot red plus color dot green plus color and dot blue. So we're gonna add them together and divide them by 3. So basically what we're doing is that we're getting an average. Then after getting an average, we're gonna check if that average is less than 128. If the average is less than 128, we say SS, then we give it 1, and we make a space, Basically we do this. Then else if the average is not less than 128, we do this. We say SS, and instead of giving it 1, we give it 0. Then we put in the spaces here. Then here this is SS and line. Then yeah, then at the end we're gonna return our ss.str ss ss dot str. Okay, yeah, then this is how we do a PBM, P1. Does everyone understand? Any question? I've been talking for a long time. I feel weird. So yeah, this is my BW illustrator. So before we continue, any question? Just say something. Just say no. Just say give me a thumbs up if there are no questions. If you are good.
Question, sir. I wanted to ask, are we going to like use files in the main, like in main when like doing those things? Are we gonna like use a our binary files and whatnot?
I think normally we're gonna call that functions in the main. I'm not sure how your function is gonna be, but then normally it's in main. Eesh. Eesh. So it might be sequential or it might be binary. Normally it's main. I can't. So normally it's main, but then I can't give you a direct answer which is main. But then normally it's main. And then we're gonna demonstrate it here also. But then, anyways, this is our BW Illustrator. So let's go and test it out. So here I'm gonna import my BW Illustrator module. Right? So I'm gonna create BW Illustrator object. I'm just gonna call it BW. Pass in some. It's not auto completing. Export. So import BW Illustrator. Import BW Illustrator module. That's fine. So BW Illustrator. BW. I want to use the default construction. I don't know why it's not auto completing. If there's an error somewhere, we'll check. So BW Illustrator. So then I'm gonna use my that function to display what is it displaying? A P1, a PPM something. So the function is that function is generate image. So generate BW dot generate image doesn't accept anything. Doesn't accept anything. So remember this thing return a PBM. So in my batch file, I'm just gonna temporarily make this thing .pbm. I think your batch file they will make it in a way it won't be it won't be necessary for you to be changing these things, because now I'm changing them because I have to test if they work and stuff. So let's draw something. BW dot illustrate flag. So maybe let's illustrate a Japanese flag. Let's run and check if there are no errors. I've already added it to my H file. So let's check if Yonkindo if Viagra is enough. Okay, no. Flag illustrator. I hear at line 38 they say so remember my UJ image is it's a pointer, so here I must say I must not use a dot, I must use this thing, the pointer thing is okay. And I think even here yeah, I think that's fine. Let me run it again. Okay, line 29 PW illustrator. We said flag illustrator rows calls color. Why is it complaining? So that was line what? 29. So we said flag illustrator, then you pass in the rows. Oh, we named this background color, not color. We change that. Let me run it again and check that. We have a problem here. So see this thing. Let me try. Let me remove. So you see, let me remove this pointer and check if it works without that pointer. Main header blah 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 blah. This is a warning. BW Illustrator. BW Illustrator. It's private. It's private. Let's check. So you see I've done a mistake here. I've declared my constructors as private, so my bad. So make sure. So everything should be fine now. So that's why that thing was not auto completing in main. Yeah, then now everything is fine. So let's check our PBM thingy. So I drawn the Japan flag, but then since it's a PBM, it must be in black and white. So we're gonna see a black and white thingy here. Yeah, then there is it. So it's in black and white because we converted to a P1. P1 is a black and white thingy. So yeah, so it means our BW Illustrator works like this. So any questions? Any question? Now, if there are no questions, we're moving to the grayscale illustrator. So it's a flag illustrator and it redefines the generate image. function to generate a P2. So this one generates a P2, which is a PGM. So let's do it. So P2 is also easy. Let's see PP. So let's create our class. Let me do this. I'm gonna copy everything from this side and just paste it in this side. So here, so we have to, we're creating a grayscale illustrator. So I just wanna be fast. So I'm just gonna, so here we'll create a grayscale illustrator module. Okay? Then we're gonna still import Flag Illustrator module in the utility module. Then here we're creating a grayscale illustrator. It's gonna inherit the Flag Illustrator. And here, let's do this. Okay, then it overrides the generate image function. Okay. This one will stay the same. We'll just call the default constructor from the Flag Illustrator, as well as this one, just keep it the same. So basically everything will be the same. You have to pass a grayscale illustrator. Then what it's gonna change is our generate image. So for a P2 now, a P2 is quite similar to P3. So with P2, we have to display the magic number, the dimensions, and the maximum intensity. That's P2. Yeah. Then the difference here is that with P2 now, we still calculate the average. So we're still gonna calculate the average. And after calculating the average, what do we do? I think that one was 128 minus. So this side we still calculate the average, but then let me check. It's done by taking the average of each pixel. So I think here we taking the average, man, and we say SS is equals to that average. Just display that average. That's how P2 is done. Let me make sure if I'm correct or not. So yeah, we calculate the average and just display that average. So that's P2. You see, it's simple. So yeah, then basically now we are done with our grayscale illustrator. Is there any questions? Any question? Okay, let's run it and check. So this is a PGM. So I'm just gonna temporarily change that. Then in our main, let me just include my grayscale illustrator module. Then here, let's create a grayscale illustrator module. Grayscale illustrator, I'm just gonna call it GS. I'm gonna say GS. GS. So let me include it in my, let me edit it in my batch file. Right before main. let's run it. So, okay, Gray Illustrator. So I didn't. Gray Illustrator. Let me check. So Gray Illustrator. Let me correct these things. Where is it? Here. Oh, even here, BW Illustrator. Okay. Remember, I copied and pasted. Okay, so that's our PGM. So our PGM is not black and white. It's actually gray. You must make a grayish, whatever. Grayish flag. Yeah, as you can see, this is not black. It's gray. It's gray and white. So yeah, that's what P2 does. So now we're done with that. So now our marks now. So now we did. We didn't exactly do. It's not exactly an abstract based class because there's no pure visual function. That's we only did a visual function, not a pure visual function. And a class is an abstract based class if it's a pure if we have a pure visual function, at least one pure visual function or more. So we did these things. So now we have like we had 50 marks. So now we are at this is plus 50 plus 15. It's 60, 65. So now we're at 65. Yeah, by doing this, I minus this one because we have not done it yet. So now what we're gonna do now is that we're gonna change our flag illustrator to an abstract base class. We're gonna implement this. We're gonna make it an abstract base class. Any question before we do that? Any question? Any question? Any question? All right. So we're done with this one. So like the moment we're at 65 marks. So let me cancel this. So now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna make our flag illustrator an abstract based class. So how do we do that? To make a class an abstract based class, one of the functions, one or more functions must be pure visual functions. So it means in our flag illustrator, you see we have a visual function here. This is a visual function. It's not a pure visual function. We must make this function a pure visual function. How do we do that? So let me take you. I'm not sure if I'm gonna explain this well, but then let me try to explain it. So the point of doing like a pure visual function now, you see we have a flag illustrator and a BW illustrator and a gray illustrator. So we have this function, this function is generate image. So it comes a point whereby generate image, this function generate image is useless to this class flag illustrator. Like it's useless. Like our class becomes to a point where like if our flag illustrator on its own, it is not able to use this flag illustrator. So that's why we make our flag illustrator function, our flag illustrator class, it comes to a point where this function generate image is useless, like is useless to the flag illustrator class. So what we do, we turn this function into a pure visual function. So what we do is that we make sure like we we don't add implementation to this generate image inside the flag illustrator. So we just say this thing is equals to 0, né? And we remove the implementation here. So we're gonna remove this implementation, generate image. So just by saying this thing is equals to 0, we're making a pure virtual function, and we're making this an abstract based class. Yeah. Pure virtual function. Do not implement this. So do not implement this. This is a pure virtual function. It does not have any implementation in the base class, because it has came to a point whereby it is very, very useless to the base class. So this generate image function is useful in the child classes. Nah. So like that's I think that's basically what, like, why we have pure virtual function and abstract base classes. Like an abstract base class is like it's useless on its own. Like it's just a useless class on its own. Like it can't do anything on its own. If you don't understand, if you don't understand what I'm saying, don't worry. Just know that to create an abstract based class, you have to have a pure virtual function. How to create a pure virtual function? You must remove the implementation and make this thing equals to 0, and that's how, then just like that, your class becomes an abstract based class. Like, just know that. Don't mind the explanation. I was just trying to make you understand it in depth. So in question. Any question? This is important, but forward to this is important because you must have an abstract based class. An abstract based class is a class that has one or more pure visual function. How do we create a pure visual function? We do this. Like, you see, this is very, very simple. You just come here and say it's equals to 0 and not include implementation. So is this clear, guys? Like, give me a signal, or is this clear? Give me something. If you don't understand this, like, you must make sure that you understand this, what I'm saying right now. Otherwise, otherwise, you, yeah, Fernando, Timpo. Sorry, this is the impersonal thing. Yeah. Oh, that was a signal that you understand. You must use the thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Please explain, please
Okay.
explain it again. Please explain it again.
All right. So
And then please go to any previous question paper. I know they use header files and 1, 2, 3, but please indicate which ones are abstract based classes, which ones are like our main class, all those from like a previous question page, something like that.
no, like in abstract based class, it's so an abstract base class, it's a base class. Like you can, like, a class that you must make it in an abstract base class. Like, sure, I don't know how to explain this, but I get your question. I get what you're asking, and then where we make functions abstract base class, where we make classes abstract base class. Just let me go to a question paper. This question paper, and let's read. I do understand your question. So this question paper says a University of Johannesburg needs you to create a data structure called UJ image containing dynamic blah blah blah. Every pixel value It's blah blah blah. Not important. You have also been provided with the following in order to assist you. Okay, this is just showing the files. Not important. This is the question, the subtask. So T1 is design, T1 is class basics. So you must create a class to represent the UJ image. The class must make use of principles of good design known to you. It must additionally make use of a dynamic, two-dimensional array of structures in which to store the pixel data. Okay, that's not important. T2, the UJ image class has a pixel painter which implements the draw string value returning method that will not set the pixel attributes of the UJ image, but rather generate a string with new values. So here, a pixel painter, this is composition. A pixel painter is inside of UJ image. This is not the example that I want, but rather, okay. So the UJ image delegates its own draw method to the contained pixel painter. This is not what I want. Now T3 says modify the previously created classes to use an inheritance hierarchy polymorphism as follows. So we have a pixel painter name. So a pixel painter is an abstract based class containing the following. It has an integer, it has a row and a column, a height and a width, and a function, a pure virtual function called draw. So I think they give you all the details. So it says a pixel painter is an abstract base class containing the following rows and a row and a column, a height and a width, and a pure virtual function called rows. So like a base a base class I get it in order to a class to be a base class, it means other classes must inherit from it. Yeah. Then to make it an abstract base class, it means one of the functions must be a pure virtual function. That's how you know. But then basically they will tell you, because like, see, this information is quite clear. Like they will tell you the class that must be an abstract based class, and they will tell you the function that must become the pure virtual function. Right. So basically they will tell you, but then for a class to be a base class, it means other classes will inherit from it. And for this base class to become an abstract base class, it means it must one of its functions or more must be a pure visual function. So that's how you know. But then yeah, they tell you. So in our case, we want Flag Illustrator to become an abstract base class. So for it to become an abstract base class, we're gonna make one. So we're gonna make like we want to look at the function. Again, we have a function which is going to be redefined in the child classes. So that function, we're going to turn it into a pure visual function. So which means we're just going to come here and say this thing is equals to 0. Then just like that, and we remove the implementation. We do not include the implementation in the base class. We don't include the implementation of the function of the pure visual function in the base class. I don't exactly know how to answer your question, but then to know which one is the abstract base class, they tell you which one, and they tell you which function to turn into an a pure virtual function. And to turn it into a pure virtual function, you just include this string and don't implement it in the base class. So that's as far as I can explain it. Right. So now coming to this side, to the child classes, um, it's it is not a must to include the virtual thing here, but then you can include it if you want, but then it's not necessary. This is just for readability. So you can include. I got this generate image is the pure virtual function in the base class. So you don't need to include this virtual thing, but then you can include it, but then you don't need to. You just including it for readability and stuff. So So yeah, any question? Any question? So they tell you which one is the abstract base class and which function in the base class to make to convert to make it a pure virtual function. That's what I know. And I showed you how to make it a pure virtual function. You just say that thing is equals to 0, and you say and you also don't implement that function. Then yeah, you can also make the constructor a pure a visual function. I think it's important. I think it's kind of important or what. I'm not sure if it's very important for you to make the deconstructor a visual function, but then yeah, you can make it. I don't know how much important it is, but then yeah, you kinda should kinda. So yeah, any questions? Any question, like give me a thumbs up or something, react or something, react or something. There are no questions. It's like do you understand this thing? I try to explain it as best as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, so far I understand.
All right. Um. What about the other people? Do you understand it?
I so far you've explained it nice. It's fine. I also understand. Uh, yeah, yeah. So far so good.
Go. Apiwe. Gonna ask everyone. Apiwe, do you understand it? And Vela.
So you understand.
Apiwe.
No, I don't have a question. Thank you.
Yeah, this is easy. Understand only. Okay, let's continue. So we made. Wait, did she say she understands? Didn't you said you understand, right? Apiwe. Let us continue. So yeah, we turned our flag illustrator into an abstract base class. Let me call someone. Yeah. So we made our flag illustrator into an abstract base class. So now you see that was fast and basically didn't even do anything. Just say x goes to 0, just say virtual, then done. 5 marks. So yeah, we did that. We turned that into an abstract base class. So what must we do? So we must modify main.cpp so that the export image is called. So now we're heading to polymorphism now. So basically, actually now I honestly don't really understand this polymorphism stuff that much. So let me delete these things. So I'm not yeah. Fernando. I mean Dimpo. Why did you name your
So,
thing?
so, so
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I feel like we can end the session. I feel like
You're not. It's cutting a row.
now, my side, I don't think I will need polymorphism. I think it's for me. I don't need other people. For now, I just want to like go through what we did again and then yeah, prepare thoroughly for the test.
Yeah, but polymorphism is not that bad. Not that bad. So let me just show you polymorphism. It's that's too many stuff. So basically, we're just gonna so let me include the flag illustrator module in here. I also don't know that much. Let me just say I forgot it. So here we're gonna like create a flag illustrator, like it's a pointer. And I think we're gonna call this thing, you just call it an illustrator. So we're gonna say illustrator goes to new, instead of saying flag illustrator, we say new whatever chart class that we want. Let's say we want the BW illustrator. We're just gonna say it goes to new BW illustrator. Let me export BW illustrator there. Let me import it. Okay, so I'm gonna import that, then pass in my default whatever 500. I don't know, it's not auto completing. 0 0 255. Then so polymorphism to call a we have to call that function polymorphically. So to call it polymorphically, so we're gonna say illustrator dot illustrate flag. We're gonna say illustrator dot illustrate flag. I think it doesn't accept anything. So just like by doing this, that's calling it polymorphical. Apparently, that's calling it polymorphically. So and like that's it. So like gosh, no, this thing we have to. I think you have to do this. Yeah, no, I will test it out. I'll test it out. See out. And I'll say illustrator flag. I think we should do this thing. Then um, what's that function? Um, and then illustrate flag is for drawing, and have generate generate image. So illustrate flag you must include the flag that we're drawing. So BW is that illustrate is black and white. So let's create on Australia. So black and white it's PBM. Let me before I forgot, let me temporarily use PBM. So we're gonna say illustrator generate image. So just like this, we're calling this thing polymorphic. I don't know. Just don't ask me about it, but I don't know in terms of what's going on and second stuff. Let me test if it's even if it even works. So the same flag illustrator error expected for something expected before the new BW illustrator. I don't know. I don't know. Let me check something. Let me check how do we do that. Let me check tutorial 10. Is it tutorial 10? I think it's tutorial 5. Let me check how they do it in main. So they say illustrate pointers goes to new where illustrator. This should have worked. Good. Right. So we said flag illustrator. Illustrator goes to new. Let me try to use the default constructor. Let me check something. This is the pure virtual function. And wanna check the deconstructor. Okay, they made it virtual. Let me check one thing. One more last thing. So this side they no longer included the deconstructor. As I said, no need. Hey, let me just run that thing again. Then if it doesn't work, we'll just continue. Like Illustrator, Painter, Illustrator. It goes to new BW Illustrator. I'm not sure if it's me, I'm forgetting something here. Everything BW Illustrator does not name a type. Let me check something. So yes, I've imported this thing. So everything should be fine. Should be fine. I'm not sure why it's not working. It should. So let's just remove it and continue. Continue. Why doesn't it work though? Let me try this one last one. Ma, it's working. What? Let me check. I think I know what the problem was. Oh, you see what we did here? We said BW Illustrator module. So that was what the problem was. We said we did the module here, so that was causing the error. Wondering why. So 500 zero zero zero. So yeah, this is how we do it. So here this is the name of the base class. You say base class pointer, then you give it a name. Then maybe you wanna like create one of the child classes. Then you say name of the class of that child classes. Then you create it. So that's how you do it. I think this is easy enough for you guys to like get it. I think should get it. Should get it. So that was a mistake. My bad. So yeah. So seems to be working. So let me check. This the PBM now. So PBM PBM is black and white. Yeah.
In terms of what was my question?
Max.
So in terms of the given files, like they give us another files, additional files, something like that.
Yeah.
So we have to use them, or can we code like the way you taught us, like the way we do the code? You create your own main, you create your own files. Like, is it a must to use those files that they give us now?
No, it's not a must. You can create your own, which I don't know if I recommend or what. But then it's a yes, you can create your own, but I'm not sure if I recommend that. So yeah. So here we'll obtain the marks for abstract base class and polymorphism. Overriding we died 1,000 years ago. So now we're sitting at 20, 40, 60. Now we're sitting at 70. So far so good. This one you do it yourself. This one. Operator overloading. I made a video, so assignment output. So this one's I made a video. So watch that video for this to get to know this operator overloading. So now let's come here. This binary stuff. Oh, but basically this we're reading a text file, then we're writing a binary file. Maybe it might come differently, and they say read a binary file and write a text file. So Tina, so basically we're done with practical 6. So now what we're gonna do next? So to test out this writing. So we're gonna do sequential. So we're gonna read. So I've already sorry, I already have a text file here, import.txt. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna read all the pixel from this file. This is a 500 by 500. I don't know what the color is. So we have the magic number there, the dimensions. So this only supports a ppm image. Good evening, Brian. Said I'm Brian. So I think in your test they will require you to read in a file in the somewhere in the main. Né? So guys, since we are done with polymorphism and all that not, so I'm just gonna comment this ones out. We're done with it. So then what I'm gonna do, so now what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna to demonstrate like reading in a file. Nah, I'm just gonna do it in main. That is just for demonstration stuff and stuff. So we're gonna make a void function. So that void function is gonna read a file. So read file. So it's gonna let me check what they normally do. Normally they call it load image. Let me call it load image. So they're saying load image accepts a UJ image reference and a file path. So the function must use a file input stream to read the contents of a ppm image, and the contents of the image must be updated using the pixel values from the file. So now like in our main, that's just for demonstration. We're gonna create a UJ image. Then after creating UJ image, we're gonna read the pixels from the input file, that I just shown you. So we're gonna read all the input, those pixels, and assign them to our UJ image grid. That's basically what we're gonna do, just for demonstration. So load image accepting a UJ image. So let me import my UJ image module here. So UJ image. So this is an image. I think we must pass it by reference. Then we're gonna also accept the file path. So string file path. So remember here, we're just gonna do the function prototypes here. Then at the end, that's where you do the actual function implementations. So now let's what's this? Let's include our what our input input file stream, something like that. Input file stream. What is it? Is it input? No, is it F stream? Eh? Yeah, let's include our file streams. So file streams come with the IF stream and OF stream. But let me see. I think I should be able to say IF stream. Is this wrong? I think I'm supposed to be able to include them in use output F. Yeah. No? So let's create our input file stream. My input file stream, I'm just gonna call it in. I'm just gonna open it same time and pass in our file path. So we'll open it. So before we do anything, we must check if it has opened successfully and stuff. So if in dot fail, so if this thing failed to open, I don't know what you want to do. Either you want to exit, terminate your program or whatever. Let me output an error message and say print open the file. Let me just say something like that. So to use exit, remember to use exit I need I have to include stdlib error file. This should be stdlib error file. So after opening and connecting our file, so this is creating and opening, creating and connecting to a file. Yeah? Then afterwards, you check if you check if the connection was successful. Then afterwards, if the connection was successful, then you can do your stuff. What should we do? So now we must read now. So since we open successfully now, we must read in our file. So remember, sequential means basically like sort of like means line by line. Né? So when we read sequentially, like we read line by line, we read the first string from the first line. Then if there's nothing else, we go to the next line and we read. Then if there's something else there, then we read again. Then if there's something like line by line, basically. So the way I'm gonna do it now is that I'm just gonna declare my, remember this, they might say this function must only support a PP3 thing. So I'm just gonna declare my magic number here. So magic number. So remember from the text file, the first thing is the magic number, and followed by the dimensions, followed by the what's this? Followed by the maximum intensity. So I'm gonna read in. So this is in dot read. So in dot read will read the first thing from the file. Né? So someone like asked me. So after the first thing in the file now is the magic number. Then the magic number is followed by the dimensions. So the dimensions which is the columns. I'm gonna read in the columns. So in dot read followed by the rows. In dot read followed by the what's that thing? Maximum intensity. So someone like asked me a question like how does it know which it's reading in a maximum intensity? So like this thing, like it reads line by line. So if it reads this thing, the next time I get here, you see here, I'm saying in dot read. So the moment it reads this thing, the second time I'm gonna say in dot read is not gonna go back to the beginning. Like it will continue reading the following thing. So the next time I'm gonna use in dot read, it will read the next thing. Like you check if in the same line there's if there's something in the same line. If there's nothing from the same line, you automatically go to the next line, the following line, and it read what the first thing that's there. Then after reading the thing, if I use in dot read again, it will go to the next thing in that line if there's something else in that line. So it will automatically go to the next thing. Like automatically like as I know some someone asked if how does it know it is reading this, like automatically it I don't even know how to explain. Automatically it reads this thing line by line. It reads this thing line by line, and at each line it reads everything. So let's say you are at line 2, it will read this thing. When I use read, and when I use read again, it will read this thing. And when I use read again, if there's nothing in the line, it will go to the next line and read it. So this is how it works. Then so here we're gonna read these 3 things. So remember, these 3 things must support a PP3 thing, a PP3 format. So we're gonna check if the magic number is not equal. So the magic number must be P3 or sorry or what's my so we're gonna say P3. We're gonna make sure the magic number is P3, and we're gonna make sure that the columns and the rows are the same as the ones from this image. So we're gonna say, gonna check if the rows are not equal to the rows from the image we have. So image dot get rows, get rows. Then we're gonna also check the calls image dot get rows. Then also gonna check the maximum intensity. The maximum intensity must be 225. So I'm gonna check if it's not equals to 255. So if one of these is true, like if this is not P3, we must not continue to read. And if this is the dimensions are not the same as the ones of the UJ image that we are passing, then we can continue to read. So here we're just gonna exit. We can just exit, or I don't know, we can just exit or return. So yeah, if there's if this thing, if the file is not does not support a P3 image, then you don't continue to read, you just exit. But that's what I'm doing it. But then if everything is fine, we just continue to read the rest of the things. So I'm just gonna create a while loop. So int r equals to 0, and r is less than image dot get rows, and r plus plus. Don't forget to include these brackets. Will be c this will be in c is equals to 0, c is less than get cost c plus plus. And here now this is the time where we read in all the pixels. So you see, I got this pixel. Remember, a pixel contains of three components. Consists of the red, the green, and the blue. But then remember, when we're not reading this thing, we're not reading them as we're not reading like them like together as three. Like we read the red component first, followed by the green and the blue. Then after we read them all, then we set them to the pixel. So that's how we read them next. So here, what we're gonna do now. So we're gonna say int red is equals to int dot read. So we're gonna like read the red component first, and followed by the green component, followed by the blue. Then afterwards, now we're gonna create an RGB color. Let's just call it color. And gonna create it. Then we're gonna say color dot red. We're gonna say it's equals to the red that we got from the thingy. Then color dot green is equals to the green component we got from the file. And I'm gonna say color dot blue, set it to the blue component we got from the file. Then we're gonna set this thing to our UJ image. So image dot set color at R, let's see, then we pass in our color. So yeah, this for loop will read everything. It will read each pixel, but one component by component, then we set it, then goes to the next component, then set it, really well. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the red, int green, and int blue. As you one with one C is one. When we come and look again, we see when C is equal to blue, will the red not be the previous or the previous value, and the green and the blue? I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah, there's low signal from your side, like it's cutting, but then I think got the question. So like I think what you're asking is like how these things work, and the next time this thing loop when they become the same. I think that's what you were asking. So let me try to explain. So after reading these things now, so now we're gonna make it like we're gonna like loop through our grid now. So remember this is our grid. Like our grid is let me try to draw something like to draw it. So wait, let me try to draw something here now. So this is our ish. our 2D array is like sort of something like this, man. Sort of something like this. At each point, either this is R and this is no, this is R and this is C. Let me say, let me draw something here. Let me say this is C, né? And this is R. So this is at C0, R0, R1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So like this is like how our grid is. But then at each location, at R0, C0, we have the pixel. So pixel contains of three components: the red component, uh, the green component, and the blue component. So what happens, man? You see, so what happens with our the loop, man? Again, in our loop, we loop through the row, man. So we look through the row now. Like we come here and we look through the row. And when we look through the row, we're gonna look through each column. Like we let's say you are at row 0. So let's say you are at row 0. After we're at row 0, we're gonna go look through each column at that row. Like this is the column, this is the row now. Then we're gonna look through each column. So we're gonna go at R0, then we go to column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, and so on. So this is like basically how it's gonna be done. Like we're gonna look like go. So this one like is gonna go to each row, né? So to each row. So at each row, again at each row we have three things at each row. I mean at each like we're gonna look through each row, né? At each column we have three things at each column. So let's say we are at R0 column 1. So when we are at R0 column 1, we're gonna read in the first thing here, which is gonna be the red component, followed by the green component, followed by the what is this? The blue component. This is was here was still at column 0. This is still at row 0, column 0. Then afterwards we're gonna go to we're still in row 0, we're gonna go to column 1. So at column 1, we're gonna read in three values. So the first value we read will be the red, the second value will be the green, and the last one will be the blue component. So this will continue. We will look through the row and up until we go to the next row, which is gonna be R1. Then still we look through the columns. So we're gonna go from R1, C0, R1, still R1, C1, still R1, C2, and so on. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm explaining it well. And that's how it is. So the next time I will remember this thing. I think you're asking if those things won't be the same values afterwards. They won't be the same values after. If you wanna make sure, if you wanna make sure that they're not the same values, when the loop comes back, like so you can let's just do something like this. Let's just make them empty or something. Let's just make them equals to 0 or empty. If you wanna make sure they they don't contain like the same values and stuff. We're gonna make them 0 and big education, but then they'll always be different. I don't know how to tell you how. But then it is what it is. I don't know how to tell you how. Then at the end of the function, you must not remember to close your file for in the first. I don't really get your question, but I get it, but then I don't really know how I'm gonna explain it. But then those things, if you want, maybe you want to make sure that they're not the same as the previous ones. in this case in the file they are the same everywhere. As you can see, these things are the same. 255, 234, 567. They're the same. They're all the same, but then so actually I don't know what to say. Actually, let us just test this way. So let's create a UJ image, né? So our image, let's make our image set for 500, 500. Then we set everything to 0, our background color to 0. Then we load, before we load in the image, let's just say image to ppm. Let's just test it. If there are no errors and stuff. In my batch file, I will temporarily say ppm. So you guys want, I'm not sure how you be coding, but then you won't be required to be changing the things in the batch file unless if you want to test something. Yeah, that's when you I will delete that. And you just have to have F3. Hi. String matching, no matching function for call, blah, blah, blah. Let me check what's going on. Let me check load image. We didn't even use that function. Didn't even use it in here, so why is it complaining? So this is F string in, this if string in, that's fine. Oh, so dot read. So when we use the dot read thing, we use it in when reading binary stuff. So since this is a text file, we have to use the insertion thing. So we have to use this thing, this insertion parameter. So it means here, so to read, I have to say in and say, so I have to say in and say magic number. This is how supposed to read. So the dot read, we use it when we read binary stuff. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me run and check if everything. Yes. At the moment, this thing should just be white. We haven't read the file yet. I was just checking if everything is fine. So now we're gonna read the file just now. So 000 is black, guys. Everything is just black. So now let's read our file now. So here let's just say load image, then we pass in our image, then we pass in our file path. So file path now. So agree, here's my import.txt. So I'm just gonna go here and copy my file path, and I'm gonna paste it here. So what you wanna do? You have to, these are backward slashes. You have to change them to forward. I think it depends on the computer. Mine, you have to use the forward slashes. I'm gonna change everything to forward slashes. I think in Mac something like that they use backward slashes. So then here at the end, I'm gonna mention the name of the file. So the name of the file is import.txt. Import.txt. So let's test it out. Let's read the file. We've read the file successfully. Let's check if it has read the file successfully. We should see a different color. I don't know what color of that thing is. And so it's I don't know what the color is. What the color of this thing is. So let me test something. So here, I get it, 0 is black now. I'm gonna change these values to black 0 0, like just to show you that they won't be the same. So 0 0. Let me also change at the last corner. So let me also change. These things are a lot. So here, let me make a red color. So let me, red is 255 0 0. Let me also do this one 0 0 255. Let me do the last one 0. So if we zoom at the corner, we will see a red color. Then if we, so let's test it out just to show you those things won't be the same and stuff. For people. So yeah, so if I zoom in to my corner there, we should see a black dot. Where is it? You see, this is the 0 0 I've added there. Then if we zoom in to this corner, here, you should see our red dot pixels there. Yeah, you see. So yeah, those things. I don't know exactly what your question was. Say what if, how do you know they won't repeat? Like, I don't have an exact answer for that, but then they won't repeat. They will always be different. They will always read whatever from the text file. They will do that. So, any questions? So I think we will end our session here. Any questions before we close? I think this session took like 3 hours 38 minutes. Any questions? All right, if there are no questions, so guys, so all the best for semester test two. Um, actually, I don't have any advices on how you should code. Um, everything you need to know, I explained it while I was coding. All the things you must keep note of, all the mistakes you must keep note of. I mentioned them. So those were my um what. So yeah, everything I told you that that's what you must know and use to in your semester test. I will wish you all the best and stuff and stuff. Um, yeah, I'll send this video and this file. But then yeah, basically we did cover everything except so you have to learn the operator learning and make sure that you know them as well as so we only did reading a text file, so you must learn how to write text files, how to write data to a text file, and how to read from a binary file and how to write to a binary file. There's already a last week's prac we were doing that binary thingy, so you get the code from there. Then nonetheless, I'll just say all the best forward to good night.